I am asking our Republican colleagues to do four things. First, they can start by refusing to water down and instead decide to ratchet up sanctions against Russia.
Sit pause.
In the House.
Back up a few seconds if you can. This is the globalist trader. This is the globalist who's selling America out, trying to point at some foreign country and going, that's the enemy, when Russia can hardly get its streetlights working nationwide. And we are the real American free market resistance to the globalists. They claim they're the resistance, yeah, to us. Ali Alexander's about to take over, political consultant, philosopher, activist, all the great work he's done with the Trump campaign, you name it. Patreon.com, Ali Alexander, Twitter @Ali, organizer, AmericanPriority.com. But I wanted to play Chucky Schumer's response, and I never got to all these clips today. If Alexander wants to play them, I know he's got a guest coming on about the globalists trying to crash the economy. Will they be successful? Talk about treason. You've got Brennan calling Trump treasonous for meeting with Putin when every other president meets with Russian leaders. They just think you have no memory. But I've got Trump on Hillary's server, Putin on intelligence and Soros, Putin on compromising info on Trump in Moscow. I may play that before I go to Alexander. I've got so many of these clips. The war room's coming up in about 53 minutes. But here's Chucky Schumer when he's this Democrat, globalist, anti-American guy that sold us out to China. Here he is saying more sanctions on Russia when Trump, quite frankly, one of the few things he's done bad is beat the hell out of Russia for no reason. Here it is.
Our allies will consider abandoning us, possibly for China and others, and Putin's Russia will emerge stronger for it. That's what he wants, and that's what President Trump inexplicably is helping him do. Our Republican colleagues can take steps right now to push back against this slippery slope the president has put us on. Speaker Ryan today said nice things, but talk is not enough. We need action, bipartisan, strong action. And we need our Republican colleagues to stand up for the good of this country. I am asking our Republican colleagues to do four things. First, they can start by refusing to water down and instead decide to ratchet up sanctions against Russia.
Sit pause.
In the House.
Back up a few seconds if you can. This is the globalist trader. This is the globalist who's selling America out, trying to point at some foreign country and going, that's the enemy, when Russia can hardly get its streetlights working nationwide. When they've sold out to China. Hollywood's owned by China now. And he's just up there like he's the patriot, and all of us, red-blooded Americans that believe in the Second Amendment, private property, all of it, we're the enemy. I mean, just how are we ruled by this piece of crap? Let's go back to it.
Sanctions against Russia. In the House, there is right now an effort to ratchet these sanctions down. Given what Mr. Putin said today, given the indictments, given what Mr. Trump said today.
Pause again. The indictments. They already had 13 bots indicted. The people showed up. It's all fake. Ali Alexander's going to take over right now. The war room's coming up. They'll have coverage of the big historic press conference. It's the left trying to take my free speech, the left trying to take my guns, the left on TV saying, let's bankrupt this recovery. I mean, if the Russians were in my business, I'd say they're the enemy. But I don't see them in my life. I don't see the Russian fingerprints or footprints on anything I'm doing. God, I wish it was that easy. No, it's the left. It's the globalists. It's the universities. It's the anti-free speech groups. They're the ones constantly. It's the Antifa. It's these bullies, and they want to imprison Dinesh D'Souza, and they want to put me in prison, and they want to shut me up and shut you up, and they want to kidnap and rape the president's son, and they're a group of crazy people. So, Ali Alexander, thanks for taking over. God bless you, and I know you got a special guest coming on, an economist about, we could probably play the clip of, him even defending it, Bill Maher saying, yeah, I want to bankrupt people and get them under my control. I mean, that's called feudalism. Ali Alexander, thanks for joining us.
Yeah, thank you, Alex. And, America, I couldn't agree with Alex more, is how are we ruled by these idiots? I mean, you have these reporters in Finland asking the president of these two countries that occupy 90% of the nuclear weapons in the world these stupid, dumb questions. I actually liked it when President Putin described the intelligence gathering process and how impossible it would be to have the foresight that Donald Trump would run for president, be elected president, or memorize all the businessmen that are coming to Moscow or St. Petersburg. We're absolutely ruled by idiots. And I'll tell you, I've got this theory. It's called the avatar culture. We're all living in signals, and this isn't just the left, right? The left has virtue signaling. They want to say, well, we care about the gays, we care about the blacks, we care about the poor, and none of their policies actually address any of these issues. But the right has much of the same thing. And what you see from the right now is, I was going through my Twitter this morning, and I was like, oh my gosh, this is a disaster of a press conference. Everyone I know and I respect it was saying Trump is selling out the United States. And I even texted the InfoWars producer, and I was like, I'm going to have some choice words for the president. But I want to make sure that before I got on the air, before I talked to millions of patriots across the nation, that I listened to the press conference myself. And I'll tell you, it wasn't night and day, but there was a huge, stark difference from the isolated quotes. And this is what I want to encourage everyone to do. For the first time ever, I'm going to say, don't listen to me. Don't listen to Alex Jones. Don't listen to the mainstream media. Go watch 35 minutes of reporters, Vladimir Putin and Donald Trump talking about these issues, and decide for yourself, because it was night and day. When I read those quotes and I said, oh my gosh, Donald Trump's throwing America under the bus a little bit. I get what he's doing, right? He's fighting.
It was all out of context, and that's what they do. Trump is sending TOW missiles to Ukraine. Trump is crushing them on energy. Trump is, it's too much. And then he's conciliatory, well, I guess lubing up Russia while he does it. I think it's too much, actually.
Yeah, well, Alex, it's a part of the negotiation technique, right? So he understands now, this is something that Reagan probably couldn't have even understood, that the negotiations have to happen in public. So to disrespect Putin is going to invite retaliation. But if he can retaliate, I think, against Russia, and the media is not going to cover that, well, then he forces Putin at the table. I think that this is strategically brilliant, even though, yeah, he's hitting.
Sure, because attacking Russia emboldens him with the Russian population. This is actually the most diabolical anti-Russian plan, to tell Putin how much he loves him and loves Russia while we're stabbing him in the stomach, which I want to work with Russia and get their resources and come together. They're not the Chi-Coms. And I see America's destiny as real trade, like Ron Paul says. I think Trump's over-aggression towards Russia is one of his only bad spots.
Yeah, I think I'm a little bit more hawkish than you, and so we might diverge a little bit on it. But he is a hawk. I mean, he's a super hawk.
Well, no, I'm fine with being hawkish, and I get the Russians respect strength. The Russians don't own Hollywood. The Russians aren't taking the Chi-Coms are the problem.
Oh, entirely. It's our #1 geopolitical foe right now.
Exactly. So making it about Russia is a strategic distraction by the globalists that have sold us out to China. That's the real threat. That's why it's treason to obsess on Russia all day. A U.S.-Russian alliance with Russian raw minerals and infrastructure and their raw material would take America into the next century with Russia with us. We won't defeat China with their aggressive stance into the next century if we don't make a deal with China.
Bingo.
Make a deal with Russia.
Bingo. And this is what Ronald Reagan understood. Ronald Reagan went from a hawk to a guy who brokered peace. And if we don't take Russia with us into this next age, it makes us harder to negotiate with these rogue states. It makes it, it destabilizes North Korea.
Exactly. We make a deal with Russia. We have that entire arc through Eastern Europe, Asia, Central Asia.
World peace.
The whole crescent, you win the whole game with that. It's a no-brainer. But see, the globalists want continue crisis politics. And I'd love to be friends with China. But our own elites put the Chi-Coms in power and are using them for global domination.
Total global domination. In fact, when I have my guests on here in a couple of minutes, we're going to even talk about that America's elites are eyeing China and Singapore as their plan Bs. As they rape and pillage America, they're going to try to force a recession down our throat here in the next 12 months. And we can only hope and pray that it doesn't happen before the midterms, because they want to take Trump out of power. So
what's the headline coming up? Globalists attempting to crash U.S. economy ahead of midterms.
Yep.
Economists, globalists attempting to crash U.S. economy ahead of midterms. And hell, they're on TV saying it. Ali Alexander takes over right now. Really smart guy, having an open, free debate here. We'll be right back. Newswars.com. Get that report on censorship of the internet to Congress. They're having hearings tomorrow. Please accept this mission, listeners. If you don't take action, they may win. We'll be back.
You know, someone very profoundly once said many years ago that if fascism ever comes to America, it'll come in the name of liberalism.
If you are receiving this transmission, you are the resistance.
The InfoWars official app. It's amazing. It works great. It's got so many incredible features. You can download it free on Android and Apple at Infowars.com/app, or there's a big banner up on Infowars.com. But why this is important is the globalists are demonizing InfoWars. We are the cutting edge, the tip of the spear, the dreaded organization that they hate so much. And they are so scared of people power. They are so scared of you, not just downloading the app, but sharing it with your neighbors, your friends, folks at church, sending out a link to your email list or Facebook or Twitter and saying, hey, download the new free InfoWars app and get live video, archive video, the podcast, all the new podcast shows we're going to start launching here in the next few months. The new broadcast, all of it, plus the latest news alerts, feeds. You can click a button and then get push notifications to know when things are happening or when I go live routinely from my house or I come back into the office or when I'm on the road. It's the InfoWars official app. It's at Infowars.com/app, or there's a big banner right on the right-hand side of the page on Infowars.com, Newswars.com, and PrisonPlanet.com. There's a lot of features like listen in the background to have the show on during any activity. A list of the latest shows, live notifications when we're going live, support the show, spread the news, both in and outside of the app, see current super sales, and browse the InfoWars store and get specials that we alert you to there via the app as well, that are the biggest specials we do. Compatible on iPhone and Android devices, Infowars.com/app. Watch the Alex Jones Show, War Room, The Real News, read articles as they're published on the site in a portable feed, get notifications anytime a feature story is published, favorite and save articles to read later when you have time. Go back through your article history to reread favorites or pick back up where you left off. There is so much more. Just check it out for yourself right now at Infowars.com/app.